Ferrari Testarossa. 3 years ago, you could pick up an okay Testarossa for $40,000 to $50,000. Today, the average asking price for a Testarossa on AutoTrader is $162,000, and it's only going up. And today, I'm going to show you why. This particular Testarossa is a 1987 model, and I've borrowed it from a viewer here in the Los Angeles area. To start, I'm going to show you all of its interesting quirks, everything unusual about the Testarossa that makes it such a unique car. And to find out more, click the link below to read my column on autotrader.com/oversteer. Now, the quirks on this car start before you even get inside with the key. Now, the key in this car looks like a normal, regular, everyday key, except that it folds. This may seem strange to you, but people were complaining that when they were driving the car, the key would hit their knees. So when you're driving the car, turn on and then you can fold it to keep it away from your knees and give yourself a little bit more knee room. We're still not in the car. We found the second quirk, which is the doors. You don't see a door handle here, do you? No, you don't. That's because Ferrari has hidden the door handles inside these really 80s style side strakes. You got to reach under here and open the door. You got to know where the door handle is before you can even enter the car. Now, the strange thing is they went to all the trouble to hide the door handle, but they didn't bother to hide the keyhole. It just sits there. And then we have the door side strakes. Take a look at these things. Does anything ever look more 80s? The craziest thing about the door side strakes isn't how they look when the door is closed, but rather how they look when the door is open. It looks like the door has a giant hole in it. Look at this. Hello. Now, we're still getting in the car, and we're not done with the quirks yet. When you open the door, the seat belt slides all the way down the A-pillar to give you room to get inside. So you get inside and you shut the door, and guess what happens next? The seat belt slides back. Now, there's still a lap belt that you have to buckle in once you're inside, and that gives you a 3-point seat belt, with this part being automatic. Now, once you're sitting down, time to adjust the seat. And you'll find the seat controls right here. 3 unlabeled switches, and you have no idea what they do until you start playing with them. For example, this one moves the rear back and forward. Not bad. Now, we're still not completely inside this car, and we're still discovering crazy quirks. For example, there's no ashtray in the center console of this vehicle. Instead, there's one in each door. You flip it up, and there you go. The craziest part is when the headlights are on, there's a little light inside the ashtray, so you always know where to put your cigarette butts, even if it's dark outside. Now, speaking of the headlights, this is a sports car from the 1980s, and so to turn on the headlights, there's a little switch inside. And there they are, they pop right up. And since I'm in the front of the car, I might as well demonstrate one of my favorite features about the Testarossa, the horn. Now that I'm inside the car, we can talk about some of my favorite interior details of this thing. For example, the 2 latches down here, one of them opens the rear hood, one of them opens the front hood. Neither are labeled, they just have the Ferrari horse on them. And the other crazy thing about this is the parking brake is located down here. Right now, the parking brake is on. That's because you can put it on and then put it down so that you have no problem getting in and out of the car. That isn't my favorite thing about the parking brake, though. My favorite thing about the parking brake is it doesn't actually clear the driver's seat. This is Italian automobiles of the 1980s. Next, we move to the center console, which is composed of many confusing buttons with a wide variety of sizes, shapes, and colors. My personal favorite button is this one, which inexplicably looks like a file folder. Press it, and it opens the glove box, which contains a giant mirror. Even more hilarious are the window switches. They're not side by side like in a normal car, but rather on top of each other, so you don't know which is which. And the images on the switches don't help because both switches show the same door. But there is one difference. The bottom switch, the white part of the image is on the top, and the switch on top, the white part of the image is on the bottom. I have no idea why. And then there's the best part. Push the window switch up, and guess what? That's right, the window rolls down. Now, all of that is kind of funny, but it's not the most ridiculous thing about the windows. That would be this. And back inside for more weirdness, the dome light isn't fixed. Push the button to turn on the dome light, and you can aim it to shine light anywhere in the cabin where you need it most. Moving on to the headlight controls, which are truly insane. The longer stalk controls the headlights. The turn signals are the other stalk. They're separate. But the weirdness doesn't end there. You want to turn on the parking lights? For that, you'll have to go to the center console. And the fog lights? Oh, they're on the ceiling. Of course they are. I also love the weird climate controls, which are like a Ferrari center console version of a whack-a-mole game. You push one and the other come up. There's also the bizarre climate control switches, which apparently direct air using these cryptic labels and this 80s style airflow meter. Now, one of the other interesting things about this car, there is a spare tire located inside the front trunk, which is nice and handy and useful and kind of unusual for a sports car like this, but the spare is a little strange. You'll notice how wide the front tire is. The spare, on the other hand, is quite a bit narrower. It's like a bicycle tire. But the weirdest thing about the spare is, look at how much the wheel sticks out. The wheel beyond the spare is almost as wide as the spare itself. I've never seen anything like this before. Speaking of the wheels, another interesting thing about these wheels, you'll notice there's no lug nuts like a normal car. Instead, to take these wheels off, you got this thing. You stick it in there, you get it nice and tight, and then you got this thing, a hammer, and you start hammering away if you want to take the wheel off, and you just hope you don't hit any of the car's bodywork. Now, another crazy exterior quirk, and one of my favorite things about this car is that the rear of this car is actually wider than the front. Think about that. In any other normal automobile, the rear of the car and the front of the car are the same width, or maybe the rear is even a little bit narrower, but not in this one. The result is that just because you clear something in the front of the car doesn't mean you'll clear it in the back. Okay, so the Testarossa is weird and quirky, and while you may find some of those quirks to be annoying or strange, it's part of the charm of an Italian car. And yes, all of that stuff, all of those weird quirks are contributing to this car's rise in value, but they're not the only thing. There's also what's under the hood, a 390 horsepower 4.9 liter V12 mounted in back, unlike most other V12 powered Ferrari models. The Testarossa does 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds and a top speed of 180, and it's hooked to a desirable manual transmission. No pedals here. So the Testarossa seems pretty appealing on paper, and it's loaded with a lot of cool Italian car charm and weird quirks, but there are two other very important things that are contributing to its rise in value. One is, obviously, its styling. When I look at this car today, I can't believe there was ever a time when it was so cheap, because it looks so exotic, so special, so wide, and so low. Those side strakes, those rear hips. Even when it's not red, this car is truly breathtaking. When you think of an exotic car, the Testarossa is exactly what you think of. It looks like nothing else on the road today, and it also drives like nothing else on the road today. Okay, we're off with the Testarossa. The clutch is directly below the horn. The gas pedal is over under the air conditioning in the middle. Well, this will be an interesting experience for everybody. So, because of this offset, now my leg is in the middle. It's right where the gear selector is. Oh,
this car is built for Italians. Long arms, short legs.
And low standards. Oh, listen to that. Oh, that is just sweet. Alright, so now around these corners, this car blows me away how much it feels like a go-kart. I know how wide this car is and how big it is and how heavy it is, but because it doesn't have power steering, when you move around these corners, the other thing about it is, because the motor and all this stuff is back there, you are so far forward in this car, and of course it's so low to the ground, you really feel like you're in a go-kart, which is amazing for me to say because this car is huge. I noticed going over these bumps, the ride quality, that's something you gotta put up with. The gear changes are just so sweet with a gated transmission. This is a subject of endless debate because a lot of people don't like a gate because they're crazy to be very precise, but I think it's cool. I love how far out the mirrors are. The mirrors are wildly small, which is just inappropriate. However, they're really far out, so you can see pretty much what you need to see. Visually in this car is reasonably good, actually. With that said, one of the strange things is that the cover on the hood actually robs you of a little bit of visibility directly behind you. It sticks up an inch or two over the engine. Oh, listen to that. parking this thing, parallel parking this thing, and then you get a crowd come at you, and you're fighting the steering wheel. It's not tremendous. We all know it's not incredibly fast. It's not going to do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. But the thrill. In a car like this, it's more, as these cars start to age, it's more about the experience. Younger people don't get this. They're like, oh, why would you get that? It's not as fast as a new 911. Well, you know, this car gives you the most incredible. I mean, I look in the mirror and I see those wide fenders, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. This ought to be a measure. Instead of 0 to 60, we ought to measure thrills, because that's what this is all about. Oh, listen to that. Woo! Boy, that sounds so nice. Oh. But we're going the same speed as this Prius. Yeah. But who's having fun? You know, I don't want to make it sound like it isn't fast. It is a fast car. I mean, this still feels reasonably quick, and that's quarter throttle. Yeah. It's not slow, but you can have fun with this car at any speed, and that's cool. Not every car is like that. In fact, most cars aren't. This thing is for people who want to just have the craziest, most, you know, they're smiling because of what they're doing, not because of how fast they're going or how precisely they're going. Usually when I'm driving someone else's car, I'm thinking, all right, 5 more minutes and then I'm good. I've got enough footage. And this time I'm like, let's stay out a little longer. Yeah. I mean, I guess the whole point of this video is why these things are increasing in value. Well, having this driving experience is unrivaled in modern cars. What I think people are starting to understand is modern cars are getting faster and faster and more advanced, but they don't quite offer this whole visceral thrill. They don't quite offer the ability to feel this way when you're driving, you know? Anybody can buy a 48 and put your foot down. This thing you gotta really want it, and you gotta really know how to do it, and it's just a different experience, and a much better one in my opinion. So the Testarossa has a highly unique, amazing driving experience that isn't even slightly neutered like most modern cars. Its styling is distinctive, ridiculous, wild. You will never confuse it for anything else. It's powerful, it's fast, it's exciting, enjoyable to drive. It's full of weird Italian car quirks and Italian car charm. Of course its value has shot up. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And I predict that someday all car enthusiasts will be sitting around talking about how you used to be able to buy a Testarossa for only $162,000.